I think that the problems that we have in the world today, the business challenges, the challenges that we all face, are an assault on our attention span by having way too much going on, way too much to pay attention to. And so the gadgets and the things that we pay attention to are always in our hands. We're always in that. And here we are today in an interconnected world, and that interconnected world is keeping us from human connections. So what's the loss? Well, the loss is soul loss. We have a loss of soul in the opportunity to foster human connection. And despite being so connected and trying to keep up with all this stuff that's assaulting our attention, we are constantly checked out and disconnected from our most important opportunities, relationships, our chances to belong, to establish emotional connections. So our production's going up, the number of hours that we work is going up, and our mental disorders are going up. The highest, I just read an article in Washington Post yesterday that the highest medical cost over cancer, over cardiovascular problems, and major disease is mental disorders. Do you realize that 3 people are killing themselves compared to 1 that's being murdered by another? Did that just go into you? I mean, that to me is one of the most defining features today of the kind of change that's needed in the world. And it's not that me or leaders or them or political figures or very positioned individuals are going to lead this change. The reality is we're all change makers, and that the change maker in us needs to awaken. But I think we're buried beneath a rubble between fatalism and believing that we can't do anything, or we just miss out. We're so lost and saturated, distracted in so many other things in our lives that we fail to listen to the larger pictures. We fail to see the context that is infringing on our life and is creeping up on us in terms of a consequence that's coming. But it's almost like acting like the storm isn't there. We're just sort of playing it off like everything's fine. We're pretending like everything's great. And so that's a way that we can establish a survival. So we have these challenges that are going on, and what I'm attempting to do through my work with leaders is to help them see that they have a responsibility in their enterprise to not only build and achieve great production and do great things monetarily. Of course, that's what an enterprise is based on. We need to make a profit. But the motivation in the organization is not based on profit. You're the one, the leader, who preserves the profits. The people in the organization don't. And they don't drive home thinking about how profitable you are. They have their own agenda. And the more you tune into their listening, the more you will get a reality check on the motivations and the qualities that truly make work potentially greater and rewarding and more fun and more cool and an area of real involvement and engagement. Because the reality is, at a business, we're going to spend more time at our business than we do in other areas of our lives. By knowing that, we need to rethink the way that we define a workplace. A workplace is a place for us to express our most essential self. A workplace is a place for us to help see the light in other people and help them bring forth their best talents and their abilities through that process of seeing and witnessing, calling forth and helping appoint those real talents and abilities to the right habitat, the right performance situation. But I think more than that, in the enterprise, there is a essential need to combine the spirituality, the real deeper questions, the call to action, the cause that roots the company in its character and its ethos, the mission, the guiding ideas, the governing ideas. The challenge is that most business is so caught in the money game that we don't think about the other spirited parts And you can't measure spirit. You can't put spirit in a job description. You can generate spirit by tapping into conversations with people about understanding what the defining features are that bring our work into an important meaning and cause. But if we're too busy being busy to do those things, then we've truly lost. There's soul loss in the organization, and our workplace becomes mechanical, and we act like machines. And we're not machines. We are creative expression beings. And the more that we see that, and the more that we mend our humanity in that, the conversation changes. It changes from what do we have to eliminate to what do we really want to create? What really matters to us? That's a big question. What really matters to us? When you're in your boardroom and you're doing your business, look back, pull back and say, well, what are we really talking about here? Are we talking about generating outcomes that we really desire? Are we talking about putting out fires and generating solutions to problems? You're going to have problems. They're going to be insoluble. You can't solve them all, but they will become solved automatically by having bigger urges from which you create. The power to see is a tremendous capacity to build. The power to see. The power to see is the power to witness our own automatic thinking, see how we expect certain things to be, because we have a certain frame, we have a model in our mind of reality, and that we automatically depend on this model of reality to make good sense of things, to interpret what other people may be intending, to try to make sense of and edit what it is that we're looking at. We bring the memory of the past like a framework we lay down right on the present moment. And yet we are unaware sometimes of the downloading from the past that we put right on the present moment. Why am I talking about this within the scope of making change? Because if we don't look at how we look at things, then we are not including what is below the iceberg, the underlying construction in our minds that keep us static and in continuity. It's like if we try to change the river, but we don't change the riverbed, we don't change the course of the water. You have to change the structure. And structure, we're talking about the underlying content that we have in our mind. Now, do we need to be addressing our content? Is it about fixing our content? No, because the more that we attempt to fix something that's wrong, the more power we give it. Anything that we're trying to overcome or master is suggesting that it's got more power than we want to give to it. It's not about that, it's about relating with it. And I don't think we have some training in our upbringing, in our emotional development, in how to relate with our underlying thoughts that distort reality, that contaminate reality. But we can move to a second person orientation out of a first person one. First person meaning the content of our minds from which we look. We kind of project slides on the wall based on the content of the past, based on what we know. So this is what it is, or this is who I think I'm looking at, or basically we see what we perceive in the first person. In the second person, we take the curtain off the window and we look at what's really going on in a factual way. And that's a very big difference between first and second, because we change our orientation from subject to object, from seeing it as our memory would suggest that we see it, we make sense of things, to seeing it beyond our habitual thinking. As we go from first to second, we notice that there's more activity going on than just looking at something. So if I'm looking at what I'm seeing it, I'm not adding any meaning, I'm not adding any interpretation to it. But then there's something else that happens. There's a way in which I'm relating with that which it is. there's another opening. There's another intelligence beyond just opening my mind and dispelling my myths about what's going on and coming to the factual moment. There's something beyond that that has to do with a deeper relating to it that isn't from here, it's from here. It's from my heart. My heart has the intelligence of understanding and compassion. It has a third-person quality of paying attention. It is ethnocentric, not egocentric. So I move from the I, me, to we, or them, which is third person. And this is when you're in a conversation. You might be in one that you don't just hear the words, which would be the second person, but you hear the person saying them, and you allow that person to change you. It's as if you're permeable, you're reachable, and you're not blocked or putting up a contradictory resistance based on what you think is right or wrong. You're not holding your certainty. You're suspending that certainty and you're redirecting your attention back to source, knowing that there's someone behind it all that's composing that thought automatically. It's you. And so if you can see you can see your own seeing and redirect it back to that. Your awareness just notches up to being able to understand another beyond the boundaries of your own sense making. So it's inconsistent with what you know. It's different, seeing differences. But then there's another dimension that is hard to talk about, and it's a fourth person perspective. This fourth person perspective is reachable. It's a level of awareness. It's an orientation to the world, the way I relate and organize in the world, that is fourth person. So if it's not third and it's not second, but it's fourth, what is it? It is me everywhere. It is me in world. It's world in me. So it would be to experience the present just as it is in this delicate now that is here now, and that just before it, if I'm resisting it, is fear, because letting go would be to reach beyond fear. Let fear be there because it's a product of me being afraid, which means I care a lot about me. I don't want to get hurt. Fear is not wanting to hurt ourselves. It's very normal. It's built into our chip. But I have a moment where I am so, my attention is so generative and in the periphery that my organizing of movement is actually internalized, and it's catalyzed by a larger array of things, what you might call wholeness. And this is where I think the opening for inspiration comes, is that there is information that it has creative order in it, and that information is seeking you to come into reality. It'd be like the musician saying, the song played me, or the author saying, something else wrote the words on these pages, or the poet saying that I don't know where that poem came from, but it came from the larger realm. We can't find this fourth person perspective in our biology. We don't know where it is. We can't find it. So it's born out of the space from which creations come. And that spaciousness requires a very quiet brain. So when your brain is quiet, and this other thing called mind, which is the connected to the outer, the external, can get internal, it can penetrate. And when mind comes through the brain, it's almost like eyeing the needle. When it moves through the brain, it's able to turn in the direction of wisdom so that it can access a certain creative order, a pattern of order from which we move. It's an incredible thing because we activate it out of aesthetically putting our senses fully into the present. So if we look at this fourth person, what becomes possible in the fourth person? This is worth some exploring. We're exploring the fourth person dimension. We're exploring what's possible when we move from first, which would be very reactive, to second, which would be factual and responsive, to third, which would be this social field of intelligence, the ethnocentric awareness, not egocentric, And so without us being at the center from what we know, we suspend what we know, we move to the second person, and then we go to third, which is the I and them, and listening from the field of social connectivity. And we can transform that social field by entering it from there, by not having any agenda, by being open-minded, and also composing an open heart, which would be to extend our ability to legitimize whatever is there. Because the open heart, the character of the open heart is legitimacy. It is to legitimize whatever is there to be there. It's to grant power to it being there. It's to give it sustenance. It's to be reverent, there we go, to that. And you imbue the acceptance. So if I'm with another, it's to act as the other is a legitimate other. And I don't have to fit them into or net them into my story. I don't have to net them into my mental construct of what I think is happening. Leave that behind out the door and just listen from a more empathic heart, which is where love and kindness and understanding and these qualities that exist in our nature can come to the surface. But this fourth person is so fascinating because it's really where everything starts from nothing. It almost feels like when we move from first to second to third, there's a process of going down, but there's also a process of, it's like a vertical connection between our current self and a future self that is emergent, and it's on the way in, and we just have to open sort of the crack up, open the lanes for accessing not yet embodied information that is ready to come. And it's a let go, let come dynamic. And if you've ever experienced this, it's happened in moments when you were so open and so available that whatever it was that was ready to happen, like a runway ready to begin, started to crystallize. It was the moment that the seeds of a vision come into view. And as you register that, kind of see this flicker in the distance. There's a kickstart or a matchstick, and you meet the emerging properties of that information data byte. It's like it's coming at you through reflection every moment. You're reflecting in action, and as you do that, you're sensing subject matter that matters to you. And the way that activates is that something internal you already had preemptive to that. You knew in your heart what mattered to you, and you entered the moment with what really mattered to you. And what happened was something responded to that. Subject matter seems to organize in terms of movement around an internal knowing of what really matters to you. When we hold our deepest sacred values and our aspirations in a constancy, when we hold it into what we want in the moment, it doesn't mean we have to have it. It doesn't mean we're attached to it. But it means that we have a direction, a directionality, our intention. There is a way in which we pay attention. We pay attention by putting that intention at the center of our attention. And what we meet is our highest possibilities. When we go out into the world and we move beyond our own ways of thinking and looking at things, and we move into other perspectives, and we're able to see in the moment. We connect with this vertical connection of kind of sensing who we are, because when we understand the other as a leader, we really get a sense of who we are. We feel ourselves, we have the sense of, wow, I really sense who I am here in the service of another. And then there's meaning that starts to come up, and this is when the emerging future, it really evokes a response in you to do something. So we might see a defining feature in the news that suddenly inspires you and provokes you into action, and you start to incorporate that into your forward path. You only know the path by walking. It's not like you've put it all together. You don't predict the future, you create one. So the question is, how do we hang out in this fourth person perspective most of the time? Because we leave it all the time and we come back. And we leave it and we come back. We fall off and we get back on. I think meditation is a great way to get access to fourth person. Because it's a silencing of the automatic mind. It's a way of touching into the automatic mind of what we think we see, But it's putting our thinking as object. We're just simply making thinking an object over there. It's something, I'm an awareness that is aware of that, and I'm just simply relating with it. And that's an incredible mobility, to be able to witness your own thoughts from first to second person. But I think there's this horizontal connection that's more lateral between you and the other, where the opening of the heart and the understanding also generates a source of creative input. That you experience yourself to be something or in a certain state of creation or pre-creation when the other or the others in plurality are with you. So there is something to say about the properties of your creative sources do come from the collective, not just the oneself. And then there's the now, which is really the biggest plurality of all, the it's. Not just what it is, but it's the it's. It's the wholeness that is meeting us where we are if we are listening. And the generative listening of it is to listen out of a place that is somewhere between the conversation that it is having and the conversation we're having. And it's the meeting of these two conversations. The conversation in us about what matters to us and the conversation in front of us about what is going on. And these two, when they collide in intention and attention, there's an eclipse that happens. And I think that eclipse is when you might witness an activating principle of aliveness deeply within you, that's soulful, that's in soul service to something, that composes a passage to service and meaning and engineering some kind of pathway that will foster a very powerful future pull. So whether you're alone and contemplative and meditative and considering what matters to you, that may be a source of content. Whether you are with the other and you're in service to the other and they inspire you and bring you into your course of action, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, or if you are simply attending to the momentary experience, knowing that everything the future needs is given to you in this moment, and whatever's connecting with you is bringing your true self, your most essential, dormant, authentic self to the surface, asking you, is this connecting with who I am, the self, and is this helping me understand my truest work in how I'm going to invest my life spirit and how I'm going to use my gifts? This is the fourth person. And I'm often asked, how do I trust that? How do I trust what I don't know? You just keep taking the meaningful leap into uncertainty, and as you keep making decisions into uncertainty, moving forward, operating from your desires, you come into knowledge. New knowledge begins to arrive because it comes through the process of action. Action produces clarity. For a lot of us, this is very scary because we want to compose an action when we know something is okay. So we attempt to rig it so that everything's okay before we take the action. But if we don't take the action, we don't know what's going on. It's like, I want to start a business, so I'm going to create a business plan and I'm going to prevent all these risks. But day one, when you get your first customer, your business plan is obsolete. So there's a courageous quality to walking in to the connection that you have with others and the courage you have in oneself and the connection you have with wise innocence. And wise innocence is the quality that is left out of what your intention is. It's like your intention goes halfway, and then wise innocence is where the universe fills in the rest of the content.